Today, we have Tom Messner. Tom served the Champlain Valley from the New York side of our lake as NBC's Channel 5 Chief Meteorologist for 31 years.
Correct.
He's now a partner in field analysis at the Vermont Lake Monsters. And you know, I suspected, and I asked him, did he play baseball as a young man? And I said, what are you, the ball boy? Well, it turns out he plays the outfield. So I said, do you play the infield? He said, no. Apparently he wasn't good enough for the infield. But also as an investor and a host of Vermont Startup News. Oh, I forgot to tell him about the Lake Monsters. He's the announcer for the Lake Monsters. True?
Oh, true.
Okay. And a host of Vermont Startup News, a video podcast that highlights Vermont startup companies struggling to find relevance in today's marketplace. Would you please welcome to St. Albans Valley, Tom Messner.
Hi, everybody. How are you today? What I am going to do is I'm going to take you through a series of slides. So the focus is going to be here. So I say that by way of, can everybody see this okay? You guys in the back? Okay, I know it's not huge. And I'm going to bore you with the topic that I was asked to talk about, which is how did a guy go from weather to baseball? And it's a solid question, but it took a while to get there. So you with me on this? Yes. So what I would like to do is I'm going to go through some stuff here, and we'll leave plenty of time for questions, and we'll have some fun, okay? Yeah. All righty. So I'm going to take you back in time to the 1970s. I think some of you might remember the 1970s. In the 1970s, that is when I went to college. And when I first went to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But my dad was a business guy at Eastman Kodak. I grew up in Rochester, New York. And I thought, well, you know, I'm not sure what I want to do, but I'm pretty sure I want to get into business because that seems safe. You know, and then when I got to the College of Worcester, which is in Worcester, Ohio, it is about an hour south of Cleveland, I met a guy who said to me, you ought to come over to the local radio station here on campus and check things out. You know, you could have your own radio show. And I was like, I have my own radio show. Why would I want to do that? He goes, come on over. It's a lot of fun. So the beginning of my media adventure started at the radio station on campus at WCWS. This is me looking very excited back in it's probably from this one maybe 1980, something like that. But it was fun because what happened was I was the first business major there who actually got to run the radio station by the time I left. Usually it was in the communications department. So I was pretty proud of that. But this was my staff. Look at these guys, huh? Looking good back there in the 70s and the 80s. So no comments. No, I'm just kidding. You can make all the comments you want. So what happened was when I got out of college, I'm like, well, you know, this doing radio is really a lot of fun. So I started to work at some small radio stations. And this is one in Geneva, New York, where I ended up working for a little while. And then I got what seemed like my big break at the time. And that was working in Rochester, the city where I grew up in a suburb there. And this was just huge for me. It was the greatest thing ever to be playing top 40 music. Now it's the early 1980s, and I'm like, I was living large. In fact, I was so thrilled about that whole thing that I got a perm. Remember, back in the day, people actually did that once in a while. So this is me at a top 40 radio station, and I have to tell you, in those days, life was a little bit different. I'll give you an example. We had a thing called the Q92 Party Patrol. What could that be? People would call up the morning guy on Q92 back in 1984, and they could possibly win a trip from the Party Patrol. One of my jobs was to get in the Q92 van and go to area parties and deliver beer. This is a true thing. Can you imagine that in this day and age? This is an actual thing that used to happen. So I hate to admit this, but my gosh, that was fun. So this is me on the radio doing the Q92 party patrol. When I was in Rochester, after a few years at Q92, there was a local television station that needed a weekend weather forecaster. So they did something I had never seen done before. They actually held open auditions for somebody to come in and be the morning guy, or to be a weather forecaster on the weekend. And a couple of things really played in my favor. One, terrible television station. They were dead last. Hardly anybody was watching. They were just trying to keep the thing on the air, I think. And they held this open audition. And that's not usually how it would work in the day, because usually if you applied for a job in TV, you would send an audition of your stuff, like on a tape in those days, and they'd see, oh yeah, this person looks like he or she might be pretty good. We'll bring them in and interview them, whatever. In this case, they were just like, let's just see if we can find somebody, so do auditions. So I went in, and they actually gave me the job. And this is how I stumbled into television. And it was funny because as I'm working on the weekend there, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I really like this job. But it occurred to me pretty quickly that I had no clue what I was doing. And the Weather Channel then was brand spanking new. And I remember sitting back in the office at WROC. So now we're talking about, it was about 1987, I think. And the Weather Channel was on the monitor, on the TV there, and I was writing down everything I heard. I literally, it's like, and that was my, as I say, beginning of getting into weather. But I realized, hey, I really like this, but if I'm gonna do this, I need to get a clue. So what I did is I went back to school for meteorology, and I ended up at a TV station in Watertown, New York. You guys know where that is? Other side of the Adirondacks, over by Lake Ontario. So what I did was I started to commute from there to Oswego, State University of Oswego. It was about an hour 15. So I'd get up in the morning, I would go down, take my classes, come back, and then do the news at 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock. There were just two newscasts then. And this was the Weather Center in the TV station. And you see this thing right here? I thought I had a second picture of it, but we'll get to that in a second. What that is a radar that would be installed in boats. It was mainly for navigation purposes. And we thought we had a great idea. We got our hands, the engineer, on this radar. They put it in the back here. They would bring a camera up to the radar, show the radar on TV, and then I would stand in front of it and show you where it's going to rain. So it was like the most primitive weather radar you ever saw, but we would promote it. We've got the local radar and everything. It was actually pretty fun. But the other thing that I did while I was at this TV station is I did a kids show that was called the TV 50 Caboose Club. And the idea behind the Caboose Club was we had a set. So this is the back of the caboose, with a door that could go inside the caboose, okay? So the premise of the show, a couple of things. Well, let me start by here. These were green windows. It didn't come out great there, but they did there. And what we did was to make it look like you're actually on a train when the TV, when we were shooting this on TV, we took a camera, we went out on a real train and turned it sideways. And just, the world was going by as the train was going. And again, this was a while ago. It's so easy to do all this now, but it wasn't then. And then we would be on the train, let's say in this case, so you'd see the stuff going by in the windows. I would bring kids. It was all, it was a kids show, so it was all about kids coming on. We would get on the train usually. It's like, well, today we're going to go to the park. Today we're going to go to this school. Today we're going to go to that school. And then we'd go to those places with the kids on the TV 50 Caboose Club. It was a blast. So the show ran on Saturday mornings and actually did quite well, in fact, well enough for it to win an award. So it won a New York State Broadcasters Award, and so we went to Saratoga Springs, where they were having this get-together. It's the New York State Broadcasters Conference, where they were giving out the awards and they had some other stuff going on. So this is us getting out our award. Anybody recognize this guy? Maury Povich? It's a long time ago. He looks different. This was our general manager from the TV station at the time, and then I was in the middle. But the thing that changed my life was, just by chance, when we went to the New York State Broadcasters Association meeting here, we were put at a table with people from WPTZ, Channel 5, here in this market, who were also getting an award for news, so we got to know them. And soon after, pretty soon after this, I saw an advertisement that that station, Channel 5, was looking for a weather forecaster. So I said, hey, I know you guys, and maybe we should talk, and I'd love to hear about the job. And soon, this came out in the paper in Watertown. Messner's leaving. Oh, PTZ, that's where he's going. Okay, so now we're at 1990. We're getting very close to now. No. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what happened at Channel 5. We're going to take you back in time. Don't know if any of you guys were watching the station. I know that John had mentioned that we were a New York station, which is true until a number of years ago. The station did move to Vermont. It's been in Vermont for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years or something like that, down in South Burlington. But back in the day, Stuart Ledbetter. All right, Aaron Clark and Tim Singer. Don't know if you remember those guys. We're going back a little ways. And then we had some changes. This is Blaine Applegate was my roommate back when I was a young guy and we were here. And Bob Solarski, just some of the anchors through the years. The sets looked a little bit different. Mark Sudol, sometimes you see him on commercials still around here. And then there's Gus and Stephanie and Matt Hobbs. Gus is in New York City right now, and I see him all the time. Just a few weeks ago, we were down there, and he and I had dinner, and he's doing great. So we've had some really good people that have come through and moved on. When I was, early in my career here, I tried to make a point of getting to as many schools as I could, because I found that you talk about a win-win situation. I would visit the schools, the kids would be thrilled. I would always take pictures of them, and then it turned into video a little bit later on, putting them on TV, which was a big thrill for them. So it was a great way to get viewers, honestly. But also, it was a great way for me to get out there and teach the kids about weather and what I do and stuff like that. So, did that for, a lot of years. Too bad I cut that off, 19-something. I don't know what year that is. And there are the kids hanging out, having fun. And like I said, we used to put them on TV, so I would, it was, like I said, it was a win-win. I would say to the kids, I said, listen, let's get a picture of you guys. We're going to get you on TV tonight. And then, of course, they would all watch. And their moms would watch, and their dads, and grandma and grandpa. And if you do that a lot of years, it really turns into some pretty good viewership. And then back in the day, I was doing this community calendar thing where we would just be talking about what's happening, around the market in Vermont, northern New York or whatever. And people started giving me these T-shirts that I would wear on the community calendar. And then there's a local quilting group in Plattsburgh that called me once, and they said, what do you do with all those T-shirts? I said, honestly, I've got them all here, and there's just a big mountain of them. They said, we have an idea. And they came over, and they looked at some of these shirts and everything, and they ended up making a couple of quilts out of them, which is really, really cool. So I thought that was super nice. All right, so here we are doing some weather. This is actually taken from the studio that's in Burlington. And that was pretty early on. A couple of things I did back in the day. I did these weather books, which was kind of interesting. You talk about how things have changed. Back in the day, if you wanted to know, I wonder what the average high is, you know, on the 18th of September. I wonder what the average low is. What's the record? So I made this weather book that had an almanac for every month in it with highs and lows and stuff. Of course, this is so easy to get now on the internet, but it wasn't then, you know? So I did that for 3 years. I sold it for a solid $2. And then what we did was, with the money we made by selling these, we actually gave it back to schools. We had schools could apply for what we called grants, and we gave them, I don't know, $500 grants or something like that. So here are the 3 books. I did it for 3 years. There's the last one. And now it's getting a little bit later, coming up on almost 2000. Oh, so you had mentioned baseball. Hockey turned out to be more important to me than baseball early in my life. So, can you find me in there, you think? I was 10 years old in this.
In the back to the right.
This one?
Yes.
Great call, that's my brother. It really is. How about this one? I just wanted to get one cute picture in there. When I was a kid, I started playing hockey at about 10 years old. This was the first team I was on. And I got to play with my big brother, which was a big deal to me. And not only there, but also when we both got a little bit older. So this is high school. This is Rick. That's me. And that's Drew, another guy. So I played through high school. And then, because I was always working nights, you know, when you think about TV, and I'll talk to people that are thinking about getting into the business, and I'll talk about the hours, I say, well, people want to view TV when they're home. So you're probably going to work some lousy hours if you think about it. I shouldn't say lousy, but they're going to be opposite from the world. You know, when do you guys want to watch TV? Well, I want to see it at dinner time. Or I want to see the 10 o'clock news, 11 o'clock at night. You need to be working if you're on TV when people are actually home to watch TV. So it's a little bit backwards from the world. So I ended up working nights for years, which worked out fine, but it also cut into my hockey time because all the hockey leagues are at night. However, something interesting happened. In the late 90s, there was an announcement that the NHL All-Stars were going to come and play. And I got asked if I wanted to play too. And I hadn't played an organized game of hockey since my last day in high school, so it had been probably 9 or 10 years, something like that. But what happened was I heard that my hero from all time was going to be one of the guys playing. Who knows who Guy Lafleur is?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So when I was a kid, big Montreal Canadiens fan, loved Guy Lafleur. I was a winger, he was a winger, and I heard that not only could I play on that team, but he was going to be there and I could play with him. And I was like, I was just like, this is way, way too good to be true. So this is me skating in this game. There's Guy Lafleur. So one of the greatest things that ever happened to me that probably doesn't really mean anything, but it does, if you know what I mean. I'm skating down the ice. Guy Lafleur has the puck. Guy passes it to me. I hit the puck, and it goes in the goal. And I'm like, what? So there's Guy right there. And one of the guys from the team that was playing with on our team with Guy Lafleur, he goes to the net, and he pulls the puck out, and he comes and gives it to me. And he goes, you know, there aren't that many people that can say they have a puck that they scored a goal with and an assist from Guy Lafleur. So there's Guy Lafleur in the locker room afterwards. He signed it for me, and it's still in a cabinet right in the kitchen. So that was one of the thrills of my life. That was really cool. It's interesting because, you know, I had a chance to leave a few times. this market and the way TV works so often, this is why people come through here so much and have over the years, is it's almost like baseball, which we're going to get to in a minute, I promise. You know, where you're at a lower level, then this is market 94. Okay, so market 1 is New York. And then there's Los Angeles, and there's Chicago when you go by numbers of people that are in those markets or communities. We're number 94, and back in the day, it was always like, well, if you go to Newark at 94, you do your thing, you make your mistakes, then you go up to market 80, then you go to market 71, and you try to step up until you're in the big time, if you want to play that game. And the company that I worked for, Hearst, wanted to move me, and it was interesting because my wife and I really had to think this through, and we thought, you know what? We've got a pretty good thing going here. And I think about some of the things even I'm showing you here where, you know, they allowed me to make books. I got to play hockey with Guy Lafleur and all this stuff, and it's like, I'm not sure it can get any better than that. Skiers, we were skiing all the time. So we found that, you know, hanging around here really was one of the best decisions I ever made. I'm so glad we never left. And I remember our company being so surprised by that. What do you mean you don't want to go? They wanted me to move to Pittsburgh. And good city. You know, would have been a real big time job. But, you know, Lake Champlain's not there, you know, and the ski mountains. Anyway, but this was one of the things that triggered some of the talk. Way back in the day, we had a big snowstorm that was supposed to, all the forecasts had this hitting down by New York City. And the thing took a turn. It was almost like a hurricane as far as turning, and it ended up hitting up here. So this is Regis Philbin. Remember Regis? Regis and Kelly. Kelly was pretty new then. In fact, look at the color of her hair. Yeah. She got a little blonded up after that. But as the story goes, Regis said to his people down in New York, where's the storm? Where'd the storm go? Well, it's up north. Well, find somebody who can tell us about the storm up north. So I get a call from Regis's people, and they say they want to put you on TV up here and show where the snow is because it was supposed to be there and it wasn't. I said, yeah, great. So this was on with Regis and Kelly one time, and this was like we were on live, and I was showing them that there was a car under all the snow and everything, and that was really cool. And then what happened was the Today Show over at NBC was watching. Somebody saw on Regis, and then they called. So the next day we did this hit, and Katie Couric and Matt Lauer, okay. So I guess they had been giving Al Roker a real hard time. It's like, Roker, you said the storm was going to be down here in New York. Let's find out where the snow really is. And then they introduced me here, and we did something that was really funny. So this was in the parking lot, and a whole bunch of snow had been plowed. So we were making a joke out of put me up on the thing. It's like, you guys down in New York, you don't know what snow is. You know, look at this. So we really had a lot of fun. But these are the kinds of things that, you know, I had a chance to do that were just so much fun. And then there was a time that the Today Show came to Sugar Bush, where they broadcast from. So I got to hang out with Al Roker for a while. That was a good time. Here's some of the people from the Today Show that were there. And that was really cool. So what happened was, as my career was chugging along, and it's getting kind of late, and I'm starting to think about, what am I going to do? What am I going to do afterwards? I always knew I had come to like business a lot, and I got involved with an organization called the North Country Investors. Okay, North Country Angels is what they're called, but it's an investment community, and because I wanted to learn about some of the businesses that were around Vermont. All my focus at that point had certainly been in Vermont. The station had been moved by then. And So they had these lunch meetings once a month. Once a month I would go. They offered up books to read and really learn about this whole, how this investment thing works. You know, and I don't know if any of you guys have been involved with the startup community, but it's a whole different world. And it's kind of a risky thing, but it's also, you know, if you're investing locally, you're literally just trying to help local companies get their footing and do well and get off to a good start. So I decided to do a few investments. Have you seen these around, the Mamava pods? So that's one of the investments, just as an example. So I got involved with Mamava, and fun to be part of that company. Benchmark Space Systems is another company that I've become involved with. What they do is they send satellites up in space, and their job, Benchmark makes the propulsion on there. So in other words, if, let's just say, I don't know, a TV network wants a new satellite in space so they can talk to, you know, people. A lot of the live shots go up to space and they come back down. Benchmark might be the company that takes a ride up and say maybe a SpaceX rocket, and then they push the satellite out. Probably not like that, but you know. And then their propulsion systems that they make right here in Vermont move the satellite to the orbit it needs to be in. Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm doing some investments, these companies and a few more, and it becomes very apparent to me that it's hard to find out exactly what's going on in the investment world in Vermont. It started to be frustrating for me because I found that, you know, it's like, who is raising money? Who's got great things happening? And there was just no clearinghouse for this to happen. So I decided to just do it myself. So I started a thing that I know you mentioned before called Vermont Startup News, which is something I put on LinkedIn, a site on the internet, every 2 weeks, and it works about right in terms of having product to talk about. And I just tell people, hey, here's what's going on. You know, Benchmark just sent something up into space, and Mamava has 2 more pods now in Rutland, or whatever the news is. Honestly, it's kind of a rah-rah. It's like, hey, we're doing great things in Vermont, and you should check it out. It's pretty cool. So I'm doing this, I'm doing a few investments, but I'm thinking to myself, you know, I really want to get involved with something locally that I feel like I can make a difference in. In other words, you can invest, you know, you could buy stock on the stock market all day long, but you can't, you know, you buy, I don't know, pick a company, you buy Apple stock, you're probably not going to be able to affect it much. And I thought, you could buy an iPad, I suppose, but I thought to myself, what could I do that I could actually be useful for? So I picked up the telephone and I called the general manager over at the Lake Monsters. And prior to doing that, well, this is actually just part of the whole ecosystem that we do. We do a demo night every year that I am the host of, to say, you know, who's got product, who wants to pitch and tell us what your product is, and then investors go and they check it out and stuff like that. But on the Lake Monsters situation, so I call up CJ, who is the general manager over there, and I said, hey, I have an idea. I think maybe I could help you out a little bit. By now I had left TV and I was spending more time on some of the internet stuff I was doing. But I liked what they were doing at the Lake Monsters. So I said, what if, you know, maybe I'll help you make some videos or help you out on the field. So we got together and he said, yeah, I think we could do this. So I started to make some videos to promote them and spent 5 games, something like that, out on the field. Has anybody been to a Lake Monsters game? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you know, like there's always some knucklehead on the field that's talking about silly stuff, that the kids come out and they play games and stuff like that. That was some of the stuff that I was doing for him. For those that have been out there, I was working with Cassidy. And so I worked a year doing that, and I thought, this is fun. So we kind of upped the ante a little bit, and I did more the next year. And I thought, you know, this is just an absolutely amazing place. This is my partner now, Joe Nagel. And it became very clear to me out at the Lake Monsters that people in the crowd, of which I was talking to all the time, absolutely love it there. And what was super noticeable to me, you know, I think it's so often now, and this has been going on for a while, it feels like the world is upside down. And everybody at the Lake Monsters, to me, the crowd seemed to be having fun. They were happy. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is like a happy place, which made a huge impression on me. And I thought, I really want to be more a part of this. So what I did was, I went to the owner. They have a group of owners, or a group, I guess, you know, a group that owns the baseball team, but the main owner is not from Vermont, although he has a house in Woodstock now. So I went to him and I said, hey, would you be interested in taking on local investment? And he's like, you know, I hadn't really thought that much about it. And he's not around that much. At the time, he wasn't anyway. And I never really heard back from him again. And I thought, okay, that's fine. You know, it's not up to me to make that decision. So later in that season, they had made the playoffs, and they had a game in Norwich, Connecticut. And the Lake Monsters had a suite there reserved so we could all go if we wanted to and watch this game from out of town, that was out of town. And I walked in there, and that owner, Chris English, that I was telling you about, was there. And I walked in there along with a bunch of people from the Lake Monsters front office, and he said to me, hey, he said, I heard that you're more popular than Champ. And I thought to myself, he doesn't know who I am. And somebody had told him, because he wasn't local, he didn't know I was on TV all those years and everything. And once he found out who I was, suddenly he was more interested in maybe being more involved. So he and I had a lot of discussions after that about, you know, becoming one of the partners of the place and what I could do. And now, this past year, I was on the field doing all kinds of stuff and being the chief cheerleader, which is my job. And yeah, I was there for all the games, but just one, and I've never been there that much. And it was an absolute blast because of like silly things like this. For those that have been to a game, or maybe you've heard, so one time during the game, the rescue club vehicle goes out and gives the umpires water, you know, silly stuff like that. In fact, one time we went out this year and the thing died. So two of the helpers had to come out and push it back, and just all this stuff that's just so funny, you know, happens, and it's just such a blast. And you know, the food is cheap, the beer is cheap, we've got a fun zone for the kids, it's safe for the kids, and I just realized that there aren't many places like that. You know, and what we've found is, yes, baseball's important, but we're not sure that's the most important thing out there. I don't think it is. It's kind of a communal thing. People come, they hang out, they talk, the kids are safe, they can go get their Dippin' Dots and then come back if they're not too young. They can walk around, they meet the players because the players are awesome. And we figure that maybe half the people when they leave know the score. Seriously. It's just like this really fun communal place that, oh, by the way, there's a baseball game if you want to watch it. You know, and I'm not sure how many people understand that. And we'll do games there, like we do this, you know, the shell game where you hide something under and then you shake it all up and everything. We do that, and that was, they won. You know, and just kind of silly stuff like that. You never know who's going to show up, you know. So that's why I did that. And for my life right now, and this is working out great because it's about 2.5 months of intense work in the summer. My wife and I now spend some time down in Florida in the winter, so that works out perfectly. I do a lot of stuff remote because I will be kind of like the liaison to the TV stations and the radio stations because I know all those guys. We'll be like, hey, do you guys want to be partners this year? And we'll work stuff like that out. And it's been great. I just love it. And while I'm not a very good retired guy, I am a fan of not working full time. There is definitely a difference there. And, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. What's going on here is the kids after the game on 2 days a week, on Wednesdays and on Sundays, they can come on down and run the bases after the game. So the moms and dads are all taking the pictures and the kids are running by and stuff like, it's just so much fun. So what I wanted to do was finish my spiel here by showing you, I don't think you're going to be able to hear this. It's mostly just music, but this is what this season looked like out there.
What a year. And here's just a little bit of Lake Monsters action from this season. Support in 2025. We'll see you next season.
Tell me that doesn't look like fun. Couple of things while I'm thinking of it. So people ask, what has happened over there? Ownership changed, and also the baseball changed. Back in the day, Ray Pecor, the guy who owns the ferries, owned the Vermont Lake Monsters, and way back to when they were the Vermont Expos, and then up through all these iterations. In the early 2020s, right around 2020, 2021, Major League Baseball realigned, and here's what that means. The Vermont Expos, then the Vermont Lake Monsters, used to be a single A team. And what that means is they're an affiliate of a Major League Baseball team. At first, they were an affiliate of the Montreal Expos, which is why they were Vermont Expos. And then toward the end, when they were the Lake Monsters, they were an affiliate of the Oakland A's. Right. So what happened was Major League Baseball did this realignment, and they cut out a whole bunch of teams. I want to say it was like 42 of them or something. Out of different parts of the country, but one area they did was here. So the Vermont Lake Monsters lost their affiliation. So the main owner, the guy that I went to become a partner, bought the team from Ray Pecor and found a league for the team to get in. So the team used to be low-level pro players. Now they're college kids. So the difference is, now, college level managers and coaches, almost all of them send their kids somewhere to play in the summer because it's how sports are now. So a lot of these kids are recommended to come play in Vermont because we've got a really good reputation and they're treated really well. And so they come up and play for the summer for us or for somebody else like in the league that we're in. And it's interesting because people will ask, and I asked Chris, the big owner, tell me the difference. What is the feeling between going from what was pro and here we are with college kids? And it's interesting because if you think about it, if you're trying to make a career and you're at the A level, single A baseball, and there's single A, double A, triple A, all getting, as you get better, you move up in status and level, and then the big leagues after triple A if you can, which is the goal. If you're in single A baseball and you're playing in Vermont, your entire job is to get out, right? Whatever the experience is, I can't stay here. I want to get to the major leagues. I got to get to double A, single A, or triple A. The college level is completely different because they're thrilled to be here. They're super happy that they ended up at what is a really nice summer league. Beautiful stadium. We do all the food ourselves. We do a lot of stuff to make the experience really good. And the kids pick up on that because there's a big crowd. And these college kids, it's interesting to ask them, it's like, how many people do you play in front of at, you know, unless it's a big school down in the South, a Division I school, these guys are playing in front of 50 people, maybe. You know, sometimes 100, and then they come here and we've got a crowd of 4,000, they're just blown away. And the kids, you know, look at them like heroes, they're gods, and will you sign my baseball, and will you do all this? Just the whole experience, top to bottom, is so fantastic. And that is the main reason I wanted to get involved, because it's just so great to be a part of this thing that top to bottom I just find makes so many people happy. And you know, I'm done working full time and all that stuff. That's just the world I want to be in now. And that's what happened to me. So. Yes, sir, would you like to ask a question?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Tell me what your opinion of banana ball is.
Banana ball. Who's familiar? Okay. I have seen them twice.
In person?
Yes, I've seen them twice in person, and I'm blown away at what they're doing. How can I describe this? I couldn't have more admiration for what Jesse Cole, the owner, has done there. He has put out 2 books that I've read that are fantastic in terms of how to please your audience. It's all about what they say is fans first. I think what they're doing is really cool. I'm so interested to see how long it'll last. And what I mean by that is what they've done is they've taken the banana ball baseball team, and for those that don't know, it's a baseball team where they changed the rules. There are no walks. If there's a pop-up fly and it goes in the crowd and somebody catches it, it's an out. And they just have, and it's really fun. They put a timer on the game, 2 hours max, and all this kind of stuff. Jesse Cole, who started this, was a baseball player in college, and I think he might have flirted even with low-level pros. I'm not sure about that. But his thing is, baseball is boring. We want to take this game of baseball that I've always loved and make it better. We're going to change the rules to really have more appeal. And I think they've done a great job. A lot of times they're compared to the Globetrotters, where the Globetrotters kind of did that. They changed the rules and stuff like that. He argues against that. I'm not sure I'm buying it. He has added more teams to this. So there's the Savannah Bananas. And what happened, for those that don't know, the Savannah Bananas were a college level team like us. And they started to do crazy stuff, and they started to get the players to dance and sing and do flips in the field and everything. And they started to sell out all their games. And the owner said, I think we're onto something here. Decided to take it to the next level, change the rules, and the guys, like if there's a pop ball in the field, the guy will do a flip and then catch it. And it's really fun to watch. I know this is a long way of answering your question. Saw them at the Yankees facility in Florida, and then I saw them in Boston at Fenway. And my feeling was, when I saw them the second time, I felt like I had seen it. Which is why I wonder how long it'll last. I don't know the answer. I do know they're absolutely on fire right now.
Well, in a way, baseball, traditional baseball, now you have a timer on the pitching, you know, that didn't used to exist.
Correct.
And I think to speed up the game, like banana ball does.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are things to learn from Jesse about that. I've taken a lot of what he said in his books and stuff, because his whole thing is to be, fans first is what he calls. That's actually what he calls his company. And he has a zillion tips on how to make fans happy, which is kind of my job. You know, my title is Chief Cheerleader. And I just try to, my whole job is to shake hands and get people riled up, and I'm doing the thing. And a lot of that, he has real great tips on how to do that. So at the Lake Monsters, the baseball is very separate. Not that there's not overlap, and I know all the guys and everything, but baseball is being taken care of by the coaches. I'm taking care of, along with a lot of other people, the experience when you're there. So when you go to a Yankees game in New York, you went to that game to see the ball. You went there to see Judge play and to watch that game. At our place, people have no problem. They get up, I'm going to go down and get a beer, I'll order a pizza, they miss a couple innings, they come back, they don't care. It's just, so we really don't look at it as only a baseball game at all. It's an event, and that's why we have kids out there doing silly stuff and playing games with the shells, and I interview a player, it was on the first thing there, every night, hey, where are you from? And it's always fun. It's like a lot of times they haven't been to Vermont before. And it's like, oh, how do you like Vermont? Oh, I love Vermont. It's the greatest. Well, right there. So as I say, a lot of it is the show. It's actually a cheap night out. Wednesdays we feed kids free. So they got a hot dog and something to drink and chips and stuff. So then mom and dad come, they buy their dinner, and it's cheap, and and that's really what we're trying to do. And it's fun. The other thing, the college kids, their attitude toward being out in the community and enjoying what's going on seems to be higher than when it was a pro team, because this stadium and this whole experience to them is by far the biggest thing they've ever experienced. With the other guys, they're just in a different mindset. They're trying to get out. They probably played in front of a lot of people. So it's more, the entertainment level, I think, works better with the college students who, quite frankly, are putting on we have D1 players, so they're putting on some good games. If you want to watch the game, that's good too.
Do they stay with families in the area? They do. We have host families. All the players stay with host families. And that's probably a strong point too.
It's a very strong point. Yeah. They have rules that, they're well taken care of. And I'll give you an example. Has anybody been to one of the Vermont baseball games in Montpelier? Okay, there's a team in Montpelier that plays in a different league. And that league is, if you look at the hierarchy of college level baseball in the Northeast, the Cape Cod League is the premier. If you're playing in the Cape Cod League, you're probably a very good player. The second level, which is a tiny bit above us, they say, is Montpelier's league, and it's the NECBL. But the thing about that league is the experience level is night and day, which is to say, some of the games are on high school fields. No matter where they play, they go home that night, where we're doing hotels. So if you're at a high school field, you don't have a clubhouse or anything for the guys to hang out in and all that stuff. We have all that. And almost, trying to think if all of them, maybe all of them in our league have full stadiums like we do, because it's left over from when it was single A ball. So the whole experience we're doing is very different than the next league up. And we're starting to see the attitude changing a little bit, like, ooh, we like what's going on there more than here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over time. I think we're going to grow. But again, a lot of it is the experience. It's not just baseball. It's bring the kids, and we have special nights, Star Wars night, and we have these Star Wars characters walking all over the place. Sells out every year. We do a 25-cent hot dog night. We sell, on 25-cent hot dog night, we sell 8,000 hot dogs. It's hilarious. We sell the place out because people can save money on hot dogs. It's just so funny, but it's a thing, and every single time it's sold out. You know, we do fireworks after games 3 times a year. They usually do real well because, you know, so it's just so much fun.
I once walked home with a baseball.
To where?
Walked home with a baseball. It came in the...
Oh, really? All right, you got to watch out.
I gave it away.
Oh, that's nice. Give it to a kid?
Yeah, the next door neighbor.
Ah, fantastic. Good. Anybody, what do you think? You have any questions? Yeah, please.
How long has it been college students versus pros?
Great question. Started college students in 2021.
Part of that, have any of them gone on toward pro?
That's a really good question. The answer to that is yes, and I don't know who. It was before I got there. However, I will tell you, a guy named Sean McMillan, who was actually in the video you just saw, one of those guys, he has a chance of doing great. He was our best guy this year, MVP of the league, and we think that he got a shot at him making the pros. So, yeah, which would be great. Yeah. Yes?
How did they do in their league this year?
That's a bad question. No. No, I'm kidding. No, we made the playoffs. We lost in the semifinals. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's the Red Sox pitcher that lives in Vermont down here?
Oh, Spaceman.
Yes.
Yeah, Bill Lee. Bill comes, he's so funny. He comes out a few times, and you know, he goes out on the field like he owns the place and throws the ball around. I'm like, hey Bill, you want to do a first pitch tonight? Yeah, let's do that. You know, and then we'll take him out and he'll do the ceremonial first pitch. Interesting you brought him up too. When I went to see the Savannah Bananas play, and this is another thing I think they're doing that's really smart, Bill Lee pitched. So they'll bring in somebody, some local hero or whatever, and you know, of course he played in Boston, so they brought him out at Fenway for the Bananas game. They lit him up. Oof. He threw a nice strike though when he did the first pitch for us. Yeah.
Tom, a weather question. Did you, perhaps unlike me, always believe the snowfall totals you'd get from ski resorts like Jake?
No. We blame them for having a rubber ruler. Yeah, they seem to do well, some of these ski areas, don't they? Especially Jake Peak. You weren't recording that, were you? Where do you guys, let me ask you this, I'm just curious. Do you watch TV news anymore?
Oh, yeah. No.
Who watches Channel 5? How about 3? Okay, 22, 44, anybody? Okay, what do you kind of flip around, watch everybody? Yeah. Okay, all right. It's been interesting to see what's happened in the world of news. Fewer people are trying to get into it. You know, there's a lot of pushback right now in the whole industry. So I was over at Channel 5, I don't know, 2 days ago to go see some friends of mine, and I'll have been gone from there 4 years in fall. And I walked in there and I hardly knew anybody. They were all like 22-year-old kids. And I give them credit, they're doing the best they can, but you know, sometimes you watch them and it's like, oof. Yeah. You know, right down here in Charlotte, it's like, I know. You know, I don't know where they're from, but it ain't here. But that's how it is, you know. Yeah.
Have you ever considered trying out for the Lake Monster?
Oh, you mean Champ?
Yes.
No. No.
You'd be good at it.
Well, you know. Champ is Champ. I can't be Champ. I'm the chief cheerleader. Which Champ's probably mad about that title, by the way. Anybody? You letting me off easy? Yeah,
Another weather question.
Sure.
I love weather, Tom.
Sure.
And I realize it's something that all weather people always do. They'll give you the, forecasted predicted high temperature the next day in Burlington or whatever. Sometimes I even track those once in a while. They're typically, going to be close but off, but they just feel they have to do that. Because they're certainly not going to be exactly accurate most of the time.
You mean as opposed to doing like a range?
Right. I mean, predicting Burlington a high of 77, mid to upper 70s would be more impressive than me.
That was a decision made quite a while ago. We've had that discussion many times. In fact, I'm trying to think if we did a range when I first got here. We might have. In this day and age, what's happening is, to let you in and get in the weeds a little bit, forecast models can handle data in such a small microclimate now that you're literally getting those numbers like that Tyler uses and I used to use. They're coming off models that really do differentiate between these areas. And then sometimes we'd go in by hand and tweak them if we weren't quite sure we believed them, kind of thing. But I think I'm trying to remember, I think we may have changed to numbers in the day because the marketing department of the TV station wanted us to. And I used to push back on the marketing department sometimes because I always thought they overpromised. It's like, we'll tell you when the rain is going to hit your neighborhood. It's like, no, we won't. We'll tell you if it's the afternoon, the morning, or something like that. I said, but when you do that and then we don't, So that always made me a little bit nervous, and a lot of times marketing departments do that, but I think with weather more than anything. So I think that may have been a marketing decision way back when. Over at Channel 5, they always are touting the most accurate because there's a company who does that, which they actually do look at everybody and they do look at the accuracy. So they're tracking some of that data too. I have not asked Tyler because it wasn't happening when I was there exactly how they do that, if they only look at Burlington, but they do look at what was the prediction on snow, what did you get, what was the prediction on rain, did you say when it was going to rain, what time did it rain? So they do look at stuff like that, but they're just comparing the TV stations. So much of the data being used by these TV stations, like the company that the data Channel 3 is using is the same as Channel 5's. So if you look at like whatever they're calling Futurecast, what we call Futurecast, us, NBC, I'm still kind of part of them, it's going to be virtually the same. But don't tell anybody. Yeah.
So it's all about the presentation, and I think Tyler gets it.
Fantastic. That's awesome. I will tell him. He will be very happy. We did something when I was leaving. We did something that I don't know that I've ever seen done before, but it was very much by design, to bring Tyler in before I left, to have him work with me on camera, and then do a whole bunch of promotional announcements with us together. So people were really ready for him. It's really hard to take over for somebody who's been there a long time. And very often that person fails because it's like, oh, I loved her, what's this? Kind of thing. So we did a very careful handover of like, Tyler's my guy. He is the best. You're going to be in great hands with this guy. And we really think that worked out well for him. In fact, the company, Hearst, that owns us, they own a whole bunch of TV stations, apparently have taken that model and done it at other TV stations instead of this abrupt, oh, he's gone now, that guy? And there's a way to do that. I really think we did a good job with Tyler on that one.
What about Ben Fredette? My God, I love him.
Little Ben!
I get up at 5, so
Ben is fantastic. I love Ben. I thought that Ben might be gone by now.
Yeah, I did.
Because he's such a good morning guy.
Yep.
And it's hard to find good morning people, because morning and night is really kind of a different animal.
Yeah.
And, you know, but apparently Ben's very happy here. I think he's got a girlfriend, which is always great news for the news director here. So yeah, I agree. I think he's doing a great job. Yeah.
They have the new guy on CBS. They just introduced him, maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
And he was really, you went, this guy is not going to last. And now you kind of warmed up to him, but you wonder, they would probably, I don't know why they hired him.
Well, it's super hard to find people right now.
Yeah,
You know, our company actually, over the last few years, they initiated new positions to go find people to work. That's how difficult it's become. Like when I came up through, the competition was insane. It was really hard. You know, if you think about it, I'm from Rochester. If I wanted to be the chief meteorologist in Rochester, there are 3 places you can do it. So 3 people get that job in the whole city.
yeah.
You know, and then whatever city you're thinking of, how many TV stations are there? Some of them, you know, like Channel 3 and especially NBC, Channel 5 is on another channel too, so it's the same person. So my point is that back in the day, if you wanted to be one of these people at one of these markets, it was super, super hard. Apparently now they're killing for people. And these new jobs they created at Hearst, and I know other companies are doing it too, they send these kids to schools. Like they'll go to Syracuse and say, hey, we're from Hearst, we're looking for people, you guys are in the journalism department, come work for us. And what's happened here is when I first got to WPTZ, it was known as a second stop, which is to say a lot of people came there after they did their time in Bismarck, in Glendive, in the smallest cities you could think of. You make your big mistakes there, like the guy you're talking about. Then he would come to PTZ or Channel 3 or Channel 22, this market, get better, and then move on from there. Well, what's happening now is the better college kids are bypassing this market because there are so few people available. So they might be going directly to, say, a Rochester out of school, which leaves this market and markets smaller with the less talented people that are available.
The other thing I'm interested in, what does a weatherman starting out get paid? I mean, what kind of income do those folks have?
You are? I worked at Kodak 2 years. So let me think. I don't know. I'm going to guess now. If somebody came in, they're probably starting at 50 or 60 grand. That wouldn't be the main job because you probably wouldn't start with the main job. You know. But you know, you're not making a ton of money. Vermont also has the problem with housing, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the news director was telling me they'll have kids come in, they love the station, they want to work there, they go look for housing, and they say, it's too expensive, if they can find it. So that's been a real problem. But this whole thing with, you know, saying that they're having trouble finding people and everything, that's certainly not only television.
Yeah.
You know, it's happening in tons of industry. Gosh, I'll walk down Church Street, not so much recently, but I remember within the last few years, and restaurants and stuff are just like closed. It's like, what's up? It's like, we have to close 2 days a week now because we don't have people that'll work. It's a very strange time.
Final question for Tom?
Is that it?
Tom?
Thank you.